Let's speak now to Voice of America congressional correspondent Katherine Gypson, who joins us now. Katherine, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's get a sense of just if one remembers when Donald Trump was being inaugurated the first time around, there were a lot of concerns around whether you'd get a lot of strikes, a lot of mass protest action as well. Doesn't seem to be the same rhetoric this time around. Why don't you give us a sense of the lay of the land?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, it is so incredibly cold here in Washington, D.C. today that's muted any celebrations or any protests. Looking around the streets of Washington, D.C., they're very quiet this time around in comparison to the 4 other inaugurations I've covered. Now, of course, usually right behind me at the U.S. Capitol, you see hundreds of people on the west front of the Capitol in seats, on the National Mall, between the memorials. That's not happening today because it's just simply way too cold.
So you're not getting the conversation around crowd sizes happening this time around then. But what is the sense then from Americans here? Is this witnessing a new dawn, a fresh start, so to speak? Is this Donald Trump's, I don't know, turnaround strategy at this time?
Well, certainly if you talk to members of Donald Trump's camp, the incoming president, they say that they are really prepared and excited to hit the ground running today. We know that President Trump is going to be signing a whole pile of executive orders relating to immigration, government reform, all sorts of issues that he's been talking about on the campaign trail. As soon as he is inaugurated behind me in the U.S. Capitol, he is going to go back and start signing them. He's going to sign them at the Capital One Arena, where they're holding the inauguration festivities indoors, out of the cold. So really, this is a day of work for President Trump.
Just very finally as well, you've got not just Elon Musk attending, who of course has played a very, let's just say, outward role when it comes to this election as well, but certainly some of the other billionaires at play here, whether you're talking about the CEO of Amazon or the founder of Amazon, whether you're talking about the founder of Meta, Facebook that is, all of them seem to be at play here.
Well, right. And that's something that President Biden talked about in his farewell address. He didn't directly name those billionaires, but he did talk about a tech industrial complex, a group in the United States that he and other Democrats feel are increasingly having a say in the running of this country. And it's something that we'll all be watching closely in the days and weeks ahead.
Yeah, watching it very closely because there's so many changes that certainly could happen. Already we've seen the likes of TikTok become insignificant and in the fray. Are we anticipating any one of those, any other quick moves, so to speak, from Donald Trump? He's spoken about quite a few changes on day one. How many of those are still looking likely?
They're looking very likely, and we may even see some of the promised immigration raids in cities around the United States. In addition to those executive orders that I already talked about, we also may see pardons for the January 6th defendants. You may remember when the supporters of Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol behind me over 4 years ago to overturn the results of the 2020 election, awarding the win to Joe Biden. President Trump is expected to pardon them. It's something that he's promised a lot on the campaign trail.
Katherine, appreciate the update. Thank you so much for that. We certainly will be watching with eyes wide open on this one. Certainly a lot at stake and a lot at play. That's Katherine Gypson, is a Voice of America congressional correspondent then joining us out of Washington, D.C.